So Ken, tell me again how long you've used InsMark in your practice.
So the question is, how long have I used InsMark in my practice? I started in 1980s, initially just for buy term and invest the difference versus cash value. And I actually used that I did an 8-hour educational course for CPAs sponsored by the Arizona Society of CPAs. And as you might expect, a lot of CPAs weren't all that excited about cash value life insurance. And so when we got to the part where they were really interested was buy term invest the difference, because pretty much out of the pocket, every CPA I know will tell you to buy term invest the difference. They don't believe in cash value insurance generally. They asked me about that, and I said, gee, why am I not surprised that you're asking that question? I said, you guys are empirical kinds of guys. You want numbers and you want to see internal rates of return and things like that. So let's go to an illustration showing the same premium, portion going into term and a portion going into an investment, take the taxes off and compare. And that was InsMark. And by showing the internal rates of return calculations in columns side by side, I said, it's really clear, isn't it? In the first 5 to 10 years, you'd be crazy to buy a cash value life insurance and then cash it out. You know, you're going to get hurt. And so in that case, buy term invest the difference is correct. However, beyond that, when you get that crossover point, that's where the cash value really starts to accelerate and go ahead of the buy term invest the difference. And so the question is, if you're trying to replace a retirement plan kind of thing and accumulate for the future, then long periods of 15, 20 years in a policy is very appropriate. If you're looking for short-term, put cash away and then take it out for a business or put the kids through school, in the next 5 years and cash it out, then that's not such a good choice. I said, and I prefaced all these remarks before I started the whole seminar, the 8-hour seminars. I said, let's talk about life insurance. It's a tool. It's neither wonderful or terrible. It's just a tool. It's very neutral. It's how you use the tool. I can use fire to burn a house down, which is bad, or I can use it to make a heck of a barbecue, which is good. So it's how can you use the product? How should you use the product? Under what circumstances does it get you to solve problems and get to the goals you want to? And that's what we're going to talk about today, is all of the different kinds of insurance and when they're appropriate, when they're inappropriate, how to design them properly, etc.
Has InsMark been helpful in your practice over the years in terms of increasing the amount of people you can help, increasing the amount of revenue to your firm?
Has InsMark helped me increase revenue and helping people? Yes. I think in particular, I started working with Wealthy and Wise probably in the 90s. I love that module. I use it probably more than anything you guys have. It's a little more work and it's a little more planning oriented, but especially in estate plan. First time I had to prove something to myself. I had an 80-year-old plus lady, and the question is life insurance appropriate for her? And up until that point in time, this is in the 90s, it wasn't clear cut that it was a good idea. The costs, mortality costs were pretty high. But back then we had low unified credits, and this woman was going to be subjected to some pretty high estate tax rates. So we took amount of money, we bought a lifetime immediate annuity inside of her estate, took the annual distributions, which very low taxes on because mostly return of principal, fed it into an ILIT, and then purchased a guaranteed UL. Well, the ratio of the death benefit for what she invested, you put 100 grand in at a 50% estate tax rate, you're really only suffering 50% or 50 grand because you would have paid half of that at death to the government. So you're comparing a 50,000 net after tax investment to, like, I think it was 1.75, 175 grand. And the internal rate of return, there's no way a woman in her 80s should be investing in high risk assets. And even if she did, she would have had a really hard time meeting that. So it was really clear this was a slam dunk, and it was Wealthy and Wise, by running both the two alternatives, that we were able to show her the net after tax wealth accumulation for the kids, which was her primary goal at that point. So.
What type of producers would you recommend use InsMark programs and software?
Well, what kind of producers should use InsMark software? I think there's probably a couple kinds. There's people who are more analytical like me that likes to play around with things, wants to be more in a planning orientation. I think for those that would like to make more sales but really aren't inclined to do that kind of work, they really need to buddy up with somebody, and I know you guys provide some alternatives where they can contact people that will run the numbers for them and will show them different tactics and maybe just explain what it is they're trying to accomplish, let them know which modules to bring to the fore, and then provide that and then use it. And I think the other thing it does is the charts and the graphs, we're a highly visual society, 70% are predominantly visual, and the charts and the graphs take raw, boring data and bring them alive with color, especially some of the stuff you showed me at the show today, where you're enhancing the graphics on the charts. I think it's a great move and will help sell. So what's cool about it, and I tell clients, is the first few pages are for you. This gives you the summary. This is the before and the after. All of this detail behind it could drive you crazy trying to read it. But this is here for your CPAs and your attorneys, for your advisors. And if you like what we're seeing here, you really need to get me in front of those advisors and let me go through the detail with them. Because that's really not for you to do. You just want to verify that what I'm saying is accurate and appropriate for you with your other advisors. And quite frankly, Mr. Klein, if you take this back to them, they're just going to poo-poo it, they're going to dismiss it, you're going to lose out on a really great opportunity. You really need to let me present it to them and answer their technical questions, because you may understand this thing, but you're really not going to be able to pass that on, and it'll die. I'll guarantee if you take this without me presenting it, they'll say no and you'll go nowhere. But after I get done, more often than not, they're going to say yes. And then the other thing where I benefit is they're going to refer more clients to me, because they're going to see stuff they've never seen before. And I'll be able to gain their trust because I'm a CPA, I know how CPAs think, and I can present it in that way. But InsMark, whether you're CPA or not, will help you give them the tools and information they need to make those decisions and help you out.
Really great. Anything else you want to say? If not, it's been fantastic.
No, I just, it's one of those things where there's always these discoveries, playing around with the software, looking at different modules, looking at the examples on the website, all that kind of stuff. It's worth your time, because things will pop into your head like, wow, this is really cool, I can use it in this circumstance. It's like being given paint and paintbrushes and canvas and saying, paint a picture. We've got all these tools, and if you're creative and you take some of the ideas that InsMark shows you, that's great, but then you can go ahead and use these tools and be even more creative on your own. So.